This podcast is a Radio Mike original production. Head to radiomike.com.au to find out more. Before we start today's episode, I just wanted to let you know that we have a sponsor. The sponsor is me, Radio Mike, because this Harry Potter fanfiction podcast is not the only thing I do. You can find all of my stuff at radiomike.com.au, don't forget the .au, and I do a whole bunch of other stuff, including my main podcast, 20th Century Boy, which is kind of where this podcast originated from. That comes out every Thursday. Subscribe to it now. Check it out. We just did our 100th episode where I tried to eat 100 nuggets in 100 minutes. And I also do a sometimes Friday edition of that podcast called Mike Talks, where I chat to various Australian celebrities, including, but not limited to, Broden Kelly from Auntie Donna, Ruben Solo, Instagram and TikTok and YouTube comedian, Jack Post from Hamish and Andy, and Adam and Simon from Gogglebox, plus many, many more. I would love for you to check out some of my other stuff. If you like this podcast, I am sure you will like that. And all of my stuff goes up on my YouTube channel. Just search for Radio Mike and subscribe there. Thank you so much. On to this week's episode.
Wizard.
Hello, Weasley's Wizard Wheezers. Welcome to this Weekend Owl Post edition of Harry Potter and the Boys, a Harry Potter fanfiction podcast by me, Radio Mike. Another week, another set of owls have come into my owlery to deliver letters. It actually, out of interest, I think that owl post in Harry Potter is very, very silly, because how do the owls know where to go? Like, don't tell me owls have like this hyper magical intelligence. Like, there are times when I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Ron's family is in Egypt and they are sending postcards to people from Egypt that are being delivered by owl. Now, to me, that seems pretty excessive. Like, it seems pretty excessive to assume that an owl would be able to fly across oceans from the Middle East to the UK. Maybe are those places not actually that far away? Is Egypt far away from the UK? Is Egypt far away from England? I'm looking at a Google Maps right now. Like, okay, I'm looking at a map. Yes, it is pretty far away. Like, it's obviously not as far as, like, the UK from Melbourne, but, like, Egypt and the UK are pretty far, and I don't think an owl could fly from Egypt through Italy. This is where you'd go. You'd go through, sort of over Greece, through Italy, up the heel of the boot of Italy, up to France, and into the UK, into England, right? No way. I'm sorry, but that is a gap in the Harry Potter lore that I would like someone to explain. Thank you in advance to whoever does that. A few bits of correspondence via owl anyway this week. First things first, well, actually, new listener has written in this week, and I'm really, really glad, and this kind of leans into what I was saying. This comes in from Sydney, not Sydney, the city in Australia, in New South Wales. Sydney is the name of this person. And I'm actually unsure if you're a male or a female or a I'm not sure what your gender is, because Sydney, I feel like, could go both ways, but I feel like it's more likely to be a girl's name here in Australia, but I honestly don't know. That's not really relevant. Thank you for writing in, Sydney. Sydney says, "Hi from California." Instantly, this raises again that issue that I just talked about regarding owls flying from California to Melbourne. Now, obviously, there is not really an owl post. Sydney did just send an email, but I like to pretend that you guys are sending in owls because it's a Harry Potter themed podcast. Anyway, I digress. Sydney, hi from California. My name is Sydney, and I'm a big fan of the Harry Potter books and Harry Potter and the Boys. And Sydney has used HPatB, where it's a capital HP, lowercase at, and then capital B. This is definitely the hashtag for the show, HPatB. Feel free to use it or spell it out however you want to use it. Big fan of the Harry Potter books and HPatB. I just wanted to write in about a few things. First, since I've been listening, I've heard you and your guests mention technology being used at Hogwarts. This has been mentioned a lot. We talk about how technology isn't really used at Hogwarts and the wizards don't really use electricity. Sydney explains, this is explained in book 3, I believe, when Hermione is taking Muggle studies. She briefly mentions to Ron and Harry that technology doesn't work at Hogwarts due to the huge amount of magic present there. Interesting, because that actually implies, if that is canon, it implies that magic interferes with electricity, which implies that magic is some kind of invisible thing that interacts with another invisible thing, which is electricity. That's kind of interesting to me. Sydney then says, second, and less importantly, although my name is Sydney, and I actually really like this. This is really cool. Although my name is Sydney, my family has been calling me Squid since I was around 8 years old. Not sure why it started, but it stuck. So when I heard the name Squidvius, and then in brackets spelling, because Sydney isn't sure how to spell Squidvius, and I'm pretty sure from memory that Squidvius in the book, there is a character who has appeared in 2 chapters in the book. They are a Slytherin beta called Squidvius Mooney. Squidvius is spelt squid, the word squid, and then I'm pretty sure it's Veous, Squidvius. When I hear Squidvius in the book, I get very excited. Hoping he gets to stick around and isn't one of the random deaths that are so frequent in your fanfic. Thanks for the laugh, Sydney. Sydney, so awesome to have you write in. And I did send you a personal reply, but I just wanted to echo the sentiment that I wrote in my email, where I said it really does blow my mind that there is someone in California listening to my dumb Harry Potter fanfiction podcast that I wrote when I was 13 that I do in Melbourne. That is so cool to me. Like, it is awesome to have. If you're an international listener, write in, let me know, send me an owl, let me know where you're listening from. Really cool. Thanks, Sydney. For whatever reason, Squidvius Mooney seems to be a very popular character amongst the listeners of this show. I don't know why. I don't think Squidvius Mooney has had any lines, but all we know about Squidvius is that he is a twin. His twin is John Mooney, so it's John and Squid Mooney are these twin brothers in this book. They've barely appeared, but everyone just seems to think Squidvius Mooney is a really fun character. I also made a little joke to Sydney. I said, also, I hope you know that Sydney and Melbourne are 2 rival cities in Australia, and as a Melburnian, I would have much preferred if your name was Melbourne. Obviously, no one is actually called Melbourne, but international listeners, just so you know, Melbourne and Sydney are very, very much rival cities. Many people dispute whether Melbourne or Sydney are the better city. Melbourne is objectively the better city, and I'm not even just saying that. Sydney is a terrible city. Sorry to all my Sydney listeners, but you know it's true. Next up, the next owl. Of course, the Amy's continue to contribute to this show. Owl in from the original Amy Ultimate, official correspondent of Harry Potter and the Boys, still signing off with the original and best in her emails. Hey, Mike. We see the Ravenclaw common room at the start of the Battle of Hogwarts in Book 7. We were talking about the Ravenclaw common room and the Hufflepuff common room. Amy did say last week, I believe, that the Hufflepuff common room is the only common room we do not see in the books. But we see the Slytherin, obviously, in the dungeons, obviously the Gryffindor, and then Ravenclaw, I couldn't remember. This is where it is. Harry goes there to look at the statue of Rowena Ravenclaw so we can see what the lost diadem looks like. It's the setting of one of the greatest moments in the books. One of the Death Eater teachers, who I believe are the Carrows, spits at McGonagall, and Harry Potter takes off his invisibility cloak and says, "You shouldn't have done that," and hits him with the Cruciatus Curse. Very out of character for Harry, but I guess he was very angry towards those last moments of the last book. I don't even remember that moment from the books. I have a feeling I need to be rereading all of the books sometime soon, because again, you forget about all these small details. I do not remember that at all, and I really want to reread the books and maybe do some content around rereading the books. Like, maybe not like a chapter-by-chapter review, but maybe just some discourse around the books and how I'm finding them and, yeah, things like that. Anyone who has any ideas, please let me know, because I feel like, you know, we're coming up to the end of the first book in my Harry Potter fanfiction series. Like, we're probably about little over halfway through now, so we still got a while to go, but I feel like we should do some stuff to like bridge the gap between the first and the second book in the meantime. So I'm thinking about maybe watching the movies again or reading the books. Anyway, I had a bit of a Google and it looks like the length of a memory is the same amount of time that passes when you're in the pensieve. Makes sense because you're kind of experiencing experiencing it in real time. I've always wondered if your whole body disappears or if your head just stays plunged in the pensieve with your feet on the floor, which makes for a funny image of Harry and Dumbledore in Half-Blood Prince. That is a very funny image of like someone walking into the office and Harry and Dumbledore just have their heads looking like they're like burying their heads in sand, and someone just walks in and like just shuts the door not knowing what's going on. That is very funny. I would like to think that your whole body disappears into the pensieve. Like the pensieve literally lets you visit that reality and you're in that reality. That's my headcanon. The time thing is also funny because it means that Hermione was sitting there for 3 hours while the boys watched students vomit out of their bums, which is what happened in the most recent chapter of the book that Sam Garlep read, the second most recent chapter, I should say, where there was 3 hours of bum vomiting, by which we don't even really know what bum vomiting is. It's just vomiting out of your bum, I guess. 3 hours of that the boys had to sort of sit through before getting to the crux of the memory. The thumbs up from the centaur was great and made me laugh out loud. 10 out of 10 joke. It's a pleasure. Thanks for making such a fun podcast. Thanks for listening, Amy. It's a pleasure making this podcast and knowing that please more people write in. Like I would love for more people to send emails. radiomikepod@gmail.com, radiomikepod@gmail.com, or the contact page at radiomike.com.au. Amy also said, attached is a picture of a card I saw in a bookshop today that you could describe. Fred Bassett style in the next pod. And she has attached a little image, and it is an image of, it is quite funny, so I will describe this image in as much detail as I can to really kind of spell it out for you. Now, what this is it's a picture of essentially what I can describe as like Slytherin Hogwarts robes and a man who essentially looks like Drake, the rapper Drake, with Draco Malfoy's hair. So it's the rapper Drake, his face in Slytherin robes with a wand, and then the hair, the iconic blonde locks of Draco Malfoy or Tom Felton, right? And the caption on this image is Drake O Malfoy, right? Drake O Malfoy, as in like the surname is O Malfoy, as in like O'Brien or O'Malley or O'Halloran or something equivalent to that, right? So it's a funny little play on words. Interestingly, Amy has also said it was next to a card with Ed Sheeran's face in an egg cup labeled Egg Sheeran. So you can see what they're doing in this little thing where they're just changing up the words a little bit, right? They're changing up the words. It'd kind of be like if my face was in a radio and they were like Radio Mike, but not really, because it's not really changing my name because I am Radio Mike. But anyway, I hope that kind of explains that. Drake O Malfoy, Drake's face, Malfoy's hair, Slytherin robes. Pretty funny kind of stuff. Thank you, Amy. The other Amy Harvey, foreign correspondent of the show, she says, hey, Mike, I like the separate Owl Post episodes, but it's a bit confusing knowing when to email in now. Just email in whenever. The Owl Post, we will read your emails whenever, right? Nice to hear Sammy back again. Sammy's great on the show. I had also completely forgotten about the ill-fated measures. Yeah, at the end of Sam's chapter, we were reminded of the ill-fated measures, which were a plot point from weeks earlier on the show that just kind of disappeared. We'd gone a few chapters without a reminder that Derek was a disgrace to all wizards, so great to learn he hasn't had any behind-the-scenes redemption arc. Derek is still a disgrace to all wizards, but yes, there was a few chapters without it, which is very rare for the book. Interestingly, she spells Derek as D-E-R-E-K. Derek is spelled in the book as D-E-R-R-I-C-K. Derek, not Derek. But a lot of people are making that mistake. Just thought I'd clear it up. Pensieves are interesting. We have snippets of information about them in the books, but there are definitely gaps for us to fill in ourselves. In the books, Snape removed a memory he didn't want Harry accidentally seeing, and Dumbledore mentioned taking out some thoughts and memories to free up some space in his mind. So it's sort of like a computer hard drive in that sense, right? You've only got a certain amount of gigabytes and you have to take some of the memories and put them on an external hard drive. That's kind of what the pensieve is. I think that's kind of interesting. This implies that the memory, or most of it, is removed from your mind. But then we saw Slughorn hand over a modified memory, but Harry was later able to get the full version from Slughorn, implying that the memory is still with Slughorn and able to be accessed. Interested to hear Amy's thoughts on this too, as I think JK's explanations really I don't think JK's explanations filled in all the gaps for me. Cheers, Amy. That's another really interesting thought, because we know in our in life, we know scientifically and like psychologically that memory is fundamentally a reconstruction of the past. When you remember an event, right, you actually that's not like a flashback of what really happened. That's you and your brain crafting together what it thinks or remembers happened. All memory is very fallible. Like, the way that you remember anything might not have been at all what actually happened, and over time, different details just start to change and shift, right? Memory is a very fallible thing. So I wonder if the memories that are taken out of the out of your brain and put into the pensieve, can they be accurate? And maybe in the wizarding world, they are accurate because you're actually pulling an experience out of your brain. Maybe it's not actually a proper memory. It's an actual, like, when we remember things, we're not actually visiting that point in time, right? Like, we're actually just recalling something. Whereas it feels like in the Harry Potter world, when they rip out those memories, they're actually taking almost like a saved version of what happened, like a recorded version of what happened. But then how can we be sure that that's true? And that's also kind of implied as Slughorn is able to change that memory where he's teaching Voldemort or Tom Riddle about the Horcruxes. So that's another interesting thought. Thank you, Amy, as always. Few people writing in about this. Sid Windu was one of them. He says, "Hey, Radio Mike, once you're done with the first book, was wondering if we did a Kickstarter or something of the sort, assuming it wasn't too expensive. Wondering if we could get physical copies printed of the book. Don't know how it will stand with copyright laws and whatnot, but I'd love to have them. Interested in this? Honestly, don't know how it would stand with copyright, and I don't want to get sued by Warner Brothers or J.K. Rowling, to be honest. I would be interested in it. I don't know if I could sell it, right? I don't think I could sell this, but I don't know anything about the laws around this. So I might have to, if we do this, it might be something where I actually have to talk to a lawyer about it, which would be expensive. So yeah, if it's something we can fund with the audience, that would be awesome. A few other people, including Gannon Bort, has said, I would absolutely love to own a Harry Potter and the Boys book. If I had any artistic talent, I'd have definitely started trying to make some comic strips of moments. Please, guys, and totally optional, but if you do have any artistic talent and you find funny moments and you feel like just making a small comic strip, I would absolutely love to see that. No pressure if you can't. I totally get it. But if you can do it, and you can do it actually really well, like, it is something that I would, like, now that we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Radio Mike, that's something that I would totally be down for paying people to do. Like, if you can do a good quality comic strip, I would definitely be open to paying for one a week just to share it. That would be awesome. If you want to make a full comic of a chapter, also very awesome. Again, totally open to you guys. Approach me if you can. Lots of people writing in with potential guests for the show. I will do a quick tease now that this week's episode that comes out on Wednesday will feature, and I'm so excited for it, will feature a very prominent, well-known and successful Australian stand-up comedian. I will not say their name, but most of you will know this person. They are awesome and so funny, and I'm so glad they have agreed to do it. I'm so excited to record it. Sydney over in California, I don't think you'll know this person unless you are Australian and you just live in California. But if you're from overseas, you probably won't know this person, but this person is very cool and I'm so excited about it. Potential guests though, if you want someone on the show, please let me know. Send me a message. And I think as well, get this podcast out there. If you can share this podcast on your Instagram story or whatever, tell friends about it, share it so people know about it. And just maybe if you follow someone that you like, that you think might like Harry Potter or might like this pod or being on it, just say, hey, have you heard of this pod? I reckon it would be great if you could go on it, just so they're aware of it. Here are people that people have suggested. Nina Oyama, who is a comedian here. I agree she'd be great. I do know Nina, not too well, but I've worked with her in the past and she is super funny. Be great to get her. Hamish and Andy, of course, I would love to have on this show. So hopefully in the future that would happen. Auntie Donna, any members of that will be great. Michelle Brazier, also known for her stuff in Auntie Donna. A lot of people have suggested her. Would love to have her on. Like, believe me, I would love to have all of these people on, and they are all welcome. It's just a matter of making it happen, essentially. Michael Hing and Ben Jenkins. Billy Darcy, a lot of people have said. I think Billy might do it. I like, obviously he knows Luke and Lewis, who I work with a lot, so I could probably get in touch with him pretty easy. Ryan Shelton, I have approached about being on the pod, and he is interested, so that'd be a dream. And Adam and Simon from Gogglebox, I've also approached about being on this pod, so hopefully they would want to do it too. Anyone else you'd like, let me know. Oh, also a YouTuber called Pugapilla, who has 10,000 subscribers on YouTube and is a super cool dude. He's going to pop in for an episode as well. So I'm really excited to get more guests on, but obviously I still love having regular guests on. Meg Archibald is another one. She was obviously on with Luke, but I'd love to get her on just by herself. Sammy Garlep will pop in and out of this pod as it goes. He's great. Zach Miller as well, another great person that I just really bounce off really well. And then obviously Luke Kidgel, he'll pop in and out. Lewis as well. So yeah, that is about all for this week. Thanks for tuning into these new Outpost episodes. They are a bit different. I do want to leave off on the Outpost episodes with a conversation point. If you haven't emailed into the show yet, this is where I try to convince you to email into the show. Conversation point. I did a video on my YouTube a few months ago about a proposed Harry Potter television series, which may or may not be coming soon. And I want to know, what would you like to see on that? What story in the Harry Potter universe would you like to see adapted into a television series? My two that I said were a Marauders prequel showing the Marauders and Snape at school, a bit more of that story. But my other one, which I thought was cool, was a young Tom Riddle at Hogwarts, seeing his life at Hogwarts and how he descended into Voldemort. Those were my ideas. What are yours? Let me know. RadioMikePod@gmail.com, radio.mike on Instagram, or just radiomike.com.au's comments, contact page, comment on a YouTube video, whatever it is, let me know. Thank you so much. And my name's been Radio Mike, and Harry Potter and the Boys is the inside of my mind. Catch you later.